The East Coast energy market will return to business as usual next hour. Live to Trudy McIntosh. Trudy, what is the latest?
Well, Danica, we will see the energy system on the East Coast have the suspension lifted. It was put in place 9 days ago by the nation's energy market operator, AEMO. At the time, they believed they just could not keep operating the system as it was, with a really serious concern that there was going to need to be load shedding and blackouts on the East Coast. We were given a signal 2 days ago that AEMO was ready to let the market go back to business as usual. They tested things out in that time, and now from 2 p.m, they're going to return to how this market normally operates. The generators putting their bids into the system and then ensuring that there isn't this shortage of supply. They're still going to be monitoring things pretty closely, and AEMO has made it clear in their statement they do believe things will be, quote, dynamic in the hours after we see this suspension lifted. So in other words, we could see a lot of volatility around price, and they will be keeping a close eye on things. The Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, this morning keen to talk up the future of renewables. He believes that is going to be the bigger picture and longer term solution here. Part of the problem last week was these unplanned outages at coal-fired power generators. He says in the longer term, the solution needs to be a look towards renewables. But will the lights stay on over winter? For now, the worst of this has been avoided, but there's no guarantee that we won't see this again this winter.
I can guarantee that the government is fully focused on the task at hand. I can guarantee that every single action that needs to be taken will be taken, as it has been over the last 3 weeks. Every single action has been taken. I've been very clear. It's a bumpy winter because we've had more generation leave over the last decade and not enough to replace it. But the actions that we've put in place over the last few weeks make us best placed to manage this situation today and going forward. Of course, I've said there are risks in the system. If there's more unexpected outages of coal-fired power generation, for example, as we've experienced in recent weeks, that'll put pressure on the system.
And Trudy, China's ambassador has made a rare public appearance. What has he had to say?
We've seen this morning, Danica, China's new ambassador to Australia appearing at an event at the University of Technology in Sydney. He was provided a pretty lengthy opportunity to outline China's views on the rocky relationship with Australia in the last few years and what can be done to repair it. He touched on a series of hot-button issues in this crucial relationship, so we'll run through some of them. Crucially on this matter of the 14 list of grievances that were provided by a previous ambassador to the media a few years back. He says that these were not preconditions to repair the relationship, rather concerns that China was raising. He says that the Huawei issue that took place under the previous government to ban that telco from 5G, he says that was the first shot that Australia made, and that was one of the reasons we've seen some of this retribution. As to this thorny matter of trade sanctions, this is $20 billion or so of Australian exports which have had sanctions placed on them by Beijing in recent years. He argues that this was because of a groundswell of the Chinese public and not a deliberate decision of punishment being made by the Chinese government. Take a look.
In the case of the recent situation, I think there are a lot of Chinese people who are not happy by some of the policies, actions, or rhetoric made by some people in this country. So there is a change of attitudes towards the relationship. There's a natural reaction from the public, but there's no government official sanction measures per se that the Chinese government have taken.
This public event on campus at UTS was not without controversy. There was a significant amount of protest in the room. We saw at least half a dozen people stand up and interrupt the ambassador during this dialogue. Also, the way this was handled by the moderator might raise some eyebrows as well. He declared at the start of the question and answer period that the questions had been provided to the Chinese embassy ahead of time. So it was hardly an unscripted moment. They knew the topics that were going to come up. We saw the ambassador too reacting to some of these protests that were directly in front of him. He argued that this wasn't a matter of free speech. He said getting the questions ahead of time on that matter. He also said that just provides an easier opportunity to have a good dialogue with the moderator. Danica?
Trudy, thank you.